Hey, welcome to live chat. No,
Hi,
no.
you can follow live chat, and if anybody actually is watching, then you can tell us what they're talking about. So I'm here with Wilson Wright. I'm Richard Welty, the Chief of Tech for the Mohawk Hudson region and the New York region of the SCCA. And Wilson is a famous race car driver. Won the runoffs. What years did you win the runoffs?
98, 99, and 02.
And it was in this car. So we have a measure of respectability here. Don't let Wilson fool you. And we're going to go through the basic process of inspecting a car. Now I'm going to step out of the frame, and Wilson, you may want to back off. Because what we have here is what's called the GTL car. It's one of the SCCA GT classes. And by and large, modern GT cars are tube frame cars with what we would call silhouette bodywork that resembles the make that the car is supposed to be, and they generally run an appropriate engine for the make. So this is a Nissan, according to the SCCA rules, and it's running the 4-cylinder Nissan engine, and we'll get to the bodywork towards the end. But you just put the fiberglass bodywork on this car and presto, it's a Nissan. Now there are some cars built on production tubs in GT. Those are generally older cars. Most modern cars are tube frame like this. So basically the first thing we do when we're checking a car is we get the vehicle logbook. And every SCCA car should have, road racing car should have a vehicle logbook. See, this car has been racing a while. This is book 3. Has a logbook number which was assigned to it when the car was brought into the system originally. If we open it up, we see that there's information about the car. So this is a Nissan Sentra. It doesn't have a manufacturer's VIN because it's not really a Nissan, just looks like one, and its category is GTL. It's 2-door sedan, fiberglass bodywork, orange tube frame. Wheelbase, track, and weight are things that we frequently don't fill in because, you know, the weight in particular is something that can change from year to year, and so the number doesn't serve a real purpose. We also record information about the roll cage, padding, engine type, and we see that who issued this, which is Bill Etherington. And Bill is an old friend who once fried my expensive digital caliper and tech at Lime Rock, but that's another story. Hi, Bill. And then you see that I know what's about to come here. Wilson hasn't put photographs in the book.
Well, it's in the original one.
Yeah, as long as you always bring the original with you, that's okay.
Nice.
And then we see that the last time this car was out was the runoffs in 2016, and that was where the book was issued. And there's a page in here for each race or each tech inspection that the car goes through. So we'll be filling out this page today after we're done inspecting the car. So I'm going to put the book down because, well, actually what I need to do before I put the book down, do you know where the number is on the roll cage? I'm
Right
guessing
there.
it's...
Bottom right. Right from the frame.
Okay. This side or the other side? Okay. It's always good to figure out where these numbers are. Okay, that's actually would constitute a VIN. I'm looking for the logbook number here, which should be on the roll cage. Here it is. And it's right where I would have put it. So the number is right here on the passenger side below the inspection hole, which has been plugged so water doesn't get inside. So that all matches, so we're good on the logbook for now. Something we always do is verify that the car is the car it's supposed to be. So we record the logbook number, on the tech sheet, just for record-keeping purposes. Although it's not like we're gonna keep the tech sheet for any length of time. But even so, we need to inspect the interior of the car. This isn't really a hard one because we can see all of the bars we need to see. We see that there's a main hoop, a diagonal in the main hoop, rear braces, forward braces. This is a halo style, so the bar up here goes under the windshield and then these go down. A car like this, you don't worry a lot about the quality of the welds because you know you're looking at a professionally built car. It's the kid who went down to Costco and bought a 110-volt MIG welder so he could build a race car that you worry about. And they exist and they're terrifying. So the roll cage is good. Welds are good. It has inspection holes. There's a cage mount line here, which we don't worry about because this is a tube frame car. If this were a tub-based car, then I would care a great deal about how the roll cage attached to the sheet metal. Padding, age, condition, and location. This line refers to the padding, which has got extensive padding on the door bars, and he's got the padding here and here. The padding really should be anywhere that the helmet might collide with the roll cage or that your arm and leg might collide, because the violence in a serious crash, you're going to be surprised at how much force your body develops in that, and then it's going to hit the steel and that's going to hurt. And
Is the padding a new specification? I see different types of padding here.
this is the older style. This is kind of like a really heavy version of pipe insulation. This padding here is a newer type, which is specified by the FIA or by the SFI. This newer style, to my mind, is preferable, but the current state of the GCR, I believe, permits the older style.
Okay.
So we may make a comment about the padding, but we're not going to make a court issue or anything out of it. But this padding, the newer style, is much harder and it crushes. And you actually want it to crush in an accident because that will absorb energy. Whereas this will tend to reflect energy. And you'd rather not have it reflected. Okay, so seat mount. Well, this is pretty straightforward. We can see the seat mount pretty easily. And this is very firmly attached. And then you come back here to the seat back and you see that it's got a very heavy brace into the car. And that's basically not going anywhere. That's what we want. We have a good quality aluminum racing seat well mounted to the frame of the car. Years ago, somebody rolled into Lime Rock who had had a really clever idea. And I don't mean that seriously. They had wanted some adjustability in their seats, so they had gone down to the hardware store and bought 6 or 7 feet worth of grade 2 threaded rod so that they could run it straight up and use nuts to move it up and down. That car did not race in that condition that day. Belts. Belts are a big deal. Rules are a little complicated right now. These are a latch and link style belt from Simpson, which is a highly reputable name. This is an SFI certification label. This is one of the labels that is considered appropriate in the SCCA. This is an old style label which has a date of manufacture. You see here it's punched out for July 15. Now, this type of label is no longer being used on new belts, but they still haven't aged out of the system. The way that we handle this label is we take the year 2015, we add 5 to get to 2020, and then we round out and get to December. So these belts will expire in December of 2020, so they're good for this year and next year. These, as I say, these will be aging out, and all new belts are being manufactured with dates of expiration instead of dates of manufacture. So these belts are good, and I check that off the list.
Now, some belts are only good for 2 years, 2 seasons, and some are good for 5.
Yeah, this gets into the issue that SFI and FIA have different points of view. So SFI belts will tend to be good for about 2 years, and FIA belts will tend to be good for 5 or 6. Now I'll refrain from editorial comments on why that is. The window net has to have an SFI label, but we do not enforce expiration dates, even though there are expiration dates that you can look up on the SFI website. So what we do is we will, feel the net. And this one is getting some age. You can see here that it dates from 97, it looks like, or no, 99. But it's still flexible enough to be okay. What will happen is this will be soft and pliable when it's brand new, and as it ages, it will get harder and harder. It will become less effective when it gets really hard and brittle, and so you kind of want to encourage people to pay attention to the age of the net. Once again, we don't enforce it, so it's an advisory comment. It's not something that I come down on like a ton of bricks. If it were frayed, or if it were modified inappropriately, and this is an important point, is that this is certified in the physical configuration that you get it from your vendor. And so if, for example, to name something I saw once at Watkins Glen, you melt holes through it on top and bottom so you can put rings on it so you can slide it open like a shower curtain, you've modified the net and invalidated the certification. Yeah, we didn't let those people race with the car in that condition either. Steering wheel is really straightforward in a car like this. This is a perfectly appropriate removable wheel. Move along, nothing to see here. This car never had an airbag, so I don't need to worry about the disabling of it. In general, no airbags in race cars. Now the firewall, since Wilson is working on the car, the cover for the passenger side is not in place, but we see the firewall around the footwell is enclosed appropriately, and the fuel line comes off, the fuel is staying in the engine compartment, which is what we care about. Burning gasoline in the driver compartment is like really bad. Yeah, we don't like that. The floor is, of course, in good shape. The mirrors, well, was about the mirror in the interior, which is a nice big wink mirror. We like that. You really do want to be able to see when you're driving a race car. It's not an IT car, so we don't care about trim. No door glass requirement, no passenger seat requirement. Ballast secure, well, I don't see it. Okay, yeah, I see the ballast down there next to the battery. And that is very solidly mounted. That's not going anywhere. And ballast weighs a lot, and if it were to get free, that would be really unpleasant. Okay, we have the fire system right here. This car is required to have a full system. The indicator is in the green zone. Wilson, have you disconnected the pole to verify that it operates smoothly? We've had situations where the fire pole cable rusted inside the sheath and they wouldn't move.
No, I'm not done
You might want to try that. Again, it's not really on the list, but it's an advisory.
yet.
It's more likely to be a problem in an open cockpit car like a sports racer or a formula car. But, you know, you never know.
I'll
It's an easy check.
do that after.
Yeah. Okay. Are these gauges mechanical or electric?
Mechanical.
Okay. Looking down here, and it's important with mechanical gauges that they be connected with metal braided or a solid steel line. And these look good. The old plastic line has been known to fail in unpleasant ways and at unpleasant times. And so that's been restricted for a good 20 years. Fuel cell, fuel tank, bulkhead. The metal paneling back here behind the driver is the bulkhead for the fuel cell. Because once again, gasoline burning in the driver compartment is double plus on good. So we need to make sure that this is here and that's good and complete. That's the way we like it. Camera mount secure. Well, I see a very nice U-bolt attached to the main hoop, and while I don't see the rest of the camera mount, that's a good start. It is less of an issue now that people are using lightweight cameras like GoPros, but in the old days, people were using the big shoulder mount VHS VCRs, and those things were huge and heavy, and if they came loose, then that hurt too.
Duct tape.
Yeah, lots of duct tape. So fuel tank compartment is the area under this panel, and we look here and we see a perfectly appropriate type of fuel cell. This is exactly what I want to see, is a can of this type with an oval panel bolted into the top. This will have a rubber bladder inside. We don't need to see that bladder because getting to where we could see that bladder would be a royal pain in the neck. And I can see just by eyeball that the tank is more than 6 inches off the ground, which is another rule, so that's good. And then he's got his fuel pumps and his fuel circulation, and all of this stuff is done with appropriate steel braided line and aircraft fittings. On to the engine compartment. And this is really straightforward. GT cars tend to be pretty clean. It is a 4-cylinder Nissan engine with big honking Weber carburetors. He doesn't have his airbox set up here yet, but the air intake here to the airbox. What I'm really looking for here is for it to be clean with no obvious leaks. Generally looks like it's assembled properly. And then we see multiple return springs on the throttle linkage, which is a good thing because springs do fail. And so having more than one is good. We no longer actually require multiple springs, but I will still say something about it. We should look for our catch tanks. Okay, we've got that tank there. Where is the oil catch tank?
Behind the bulkhead.
Okay. So the oil catch tank is down here, and that will be underneath the aluminum panel when that's reinstalled. So that's bulkheaded off. So that's good. Yeah, you need to catch the fluids. It seems to me highly probable that you just run straight water in this car, or do you use antifreeze
What's better?
for coolant?
What's better?
I recommend running straight water.
That's what we got.
Yeah, okay.
No water wetter?
Well, yeah, with some kind of lubricant, basically glycol, if it comes out, gets into the asphalt and you can't clean it up like oil, it's gonna spend the rest of the day coming up. And
That's right.
so, yeah, you're in an actual race car, you should run water with something to lubricate the water pump. Because when you put it away for the winter, you just pull the bottom hose off and dump the water, and it's really easy to winterize.
Then put the antifreeze in.
Yeah. So the fuel cell compartment's good, the engine compartment's good, suspension and running gear. That's a reasonable amount of wheel bearing play. You expect some play because they're gonna heat up and get tight, so you don't wanna start them out tight. Okay, so that's all pretty reasonable, and then we just see if the steering feels reasonably tight, and that's reasonably tight for a race car. So finally, exterior. Well, we gotta go find the exterior. And Wilson has helpfully laid the exterior out over here. And we see all the things that make it look like an actual Nissan here. And from my point of view, this easily meets the neat and clean rule requirement. It meets what requirements there are for trim on a GT car, which is not many. Wilson has not put on this year's numbers yet, because he probably doesn't know this year's number yet. Okay, you will be 11? Okay, but he's waiting for the numbers, so we're not gonna freak out about that. He's got the class letters GTL nice and big. Because he hasn't run for a couple of years, he has the Safe Racer sticker, so before I leave today, I'm gonna give him the Summit Racing sticker. Because Summit Racing is the current club racing sponsor. Now you're gonna have to take a look at the master switch. Fenders, flares as appropriate. Well, they're integral to the bodywork and they are appropriate. Just going through all of this, lights taped or removed. Well, it never had lights. Doesn't have a rear spoiler. We saw the exhaust system exit on the car over there, which is a side exit, and that is appropriate. That's a very typical way of doing that. And tow hooks. Something that won't come loose. Being aware that if at Lime Rock you drive into the swamp, then when emergency services shows up to pull you out, they're going to be in a hurry and they're not going to be gentle. And okay, battery mount. You got the battery right there. That's a very solid mount, and it's going to be underneath the aluminum panels he puts back in, so it does not need to be in a case. If that were exposed in the driver compartment, it would need to be in a marine style battery case. So
The kill switch.
the kill switch. Now, what we're gonna do with the kill switch, well, maybe we're not gonna do it with the kill switch, because I would like to see brake lights, except I can't. Okay, well, we're gonna work on getting where we can see brake lights then, because an easy way to check the kill switch without starting the car is to make sure that the kill switch will shut the brake lights off when you operate it. The kill switch is located right here. And the idea is that the corner workers can run up, hit that switch, and make sure that everything in the car shuts down.
Yeah, there was a label on the bodywork
Yeah.
indicating the location.
Yeah, basically, there should be a sticker like this on the bodywork, and then this is the pull for the extinguisher, and there should be a sticker like that on the bodywork. And the idea is that if a corner worker is responding, that helps guide them to where those handles are so that they can operate them.
Yep.
I see a little bit.
Here comes the stickers and associated bodywork.
And one of the things that you can see here as you watch this process is how easy it is to make it look like a car if you set your mind to it. I also point out, and I didn't check the tires, there are rules about tires, but since these are obviously tires he uses to hold it up during the winter, there's no point in checking. I'm sure in the near future he will put actual racing tires on the car, but I don't need to see them here today. Okay.
Oops.
Okay, one of them works. On the left side, you're gonna need to take a look at. Let me go operate the kill switch. Did they go out?
Lights off,
Okay, on.
lights on,
Okay,
lights off.
that's enough of a check for now. So I think we should check their gear. It's a reason why you check this stuff before you get to the track.
Yeah, sometimes it's not easy when you're one man. Unless you have a mirror.
Since my IT car had red turn signals side by side with red brake lights, I actually snipped off the turn signal wires and hooked them up as extra brake lights.
Sure.
That way I had 4 bulbs instead of 2. Yeah, Wilson, I think we should just do your gear, and then that way we can wrap up the video. Okay, so let's go look at the gear. Now, the gear doesn't need to be done at the same time as the car. Gear check is done on the calendar year, and the car tech is a rolling year. But at this point, since the car and the gear are being brought back after a few years off, it's convenient and appropriate to do it all at the same time. So, gloves are a very high wear item, so what we want to do is look between the fingers and at the palm, because those are the place where, if they wear out, that's where it's going to happen. And these are in good shape. These are good for a while to go. Okay, socks are good. Shoes are a little tired, but they're not worn through. And Wilson is using a pretty good quality suit, so he does not need to have a separate fireproof underwear. And as I always say, the problem with driver underwear is that you do know where it's been. So I teach new tech inspectors they don't need to handle it. So this is a good quality suit it's in good condition. From a certification point of view, it has an FIA label on the back of the neck, and that is sufficient for those purposes. And then on the front here, it has an appropriate SCCA sticker. That's one of the ones that is considered okay. If you're racing SCCA majors, then you probably don't want to have a NASA patch on here, but we don't worry about that at regional races. So, it's a matter of how serious the race is. So the only other thing we need to check here is a helmet certification. And we look at the back, and the manufacturer has conveniently specified Snell SA 2015. I cannot actually take that seriously. What I have to do is go inside the helmet and find that label, which is the official one. And sometimes they're hard to find. This one was very easy. And this helmet is one of the permissible helmets, and it will be permissible probably until 2026. So I'm gonna put a helmet sticker on this guy because he passed. Okay. I left the helmet sticker sitting in the entryway to the house, so I will take care of getting you an appropriate helmet sticker. But we would have put it right up here if we had one to give him. Oh, by the way, your Hans,
Yes.
you have one?
Yes.
I have to see it. These are the posts for attaching a Hans device to the helmet. And that reminded me that I do need to see the Hans before I give him a sticker. Okay, so this is a typical modern Hans device. The shoulder harness goes over there to nail it down on the driver's neck. And then this strap clips on to either side of the helmet on the posts that I just pointed at. So it slides freely side to side, but it's not going to let your head snap forward. And it's the head snapping forward that was causing the basal skull fractures that killed a lot of drivers, which is why this is a mandatory device. There is a date on the, well, there are SFI and FIA labels here, and they are dated. This one, it's a little hard to read. But basically the short version is that periodically that strap needs to be replaced. And the good news is that Hans, we don't enforce anything here, but that's 2010. The good news is that Hans is very affordable on replacing that, so it's not a big deal. I think it's been $40, it may be more now, but it's not a big deal to send it back to Hans, get that strap replaced, and have it recertified. And that's one of the things I appreciate, is that they're not trying to kill racers on recertification. So this looks good, so we're going to put a stamp in the vehicle logbook. As soon as I figure out where my pen is.
Over here.
Okay. So we always use a stamp. Quality. The thing we add onto the stamp is the belt expiration. These are SFI 2020 will be the last year. And my name. Okay. Today's the 14th, right?
Pi Day.
Yeah. We date it And we include the year because if you leave the year off, then it becomes very hard to interpret a logbook. And annual tech. And this is good until 3/14 of 2020, at which point he will need a new inspection. And we're done. So thank you for our 1 or 2 viewers, and we're going to finish off this broadcast. And hopefully we didn't suck too bad.
Now we have to figure out how to stop this. Just hit the X.
Yeah, probably.
Still